Hello everybody, I'm Dave and this is Grumpy Dave's Customs. This gem, if you don't know it already, is a 1940 Packard. It's the same year that the Pennsylvania Turnpike went to a divided 4-lane limited access roadway. That turnpike did, without a speed limit. And up until 77, they were still digging a couple double tunnels to put all the traffic on the same side, because before you go up to the tunnel, you cross over and then you go through the tunnel head on like you did in the old days, and then you go back over on the other side and drive on. And they had to drill it. They couldn't blast it because they didn't want to cave in the tunnel beside it. Would have been bad news. Back in 1940, let's just do the whole history real quick. In 35, they come up with this 6-cylinder engine, a version of it. They come out with the independent front suspension. I think it's the first American car to do so. In 37, also the year they came out with a 6-cylinder. 35, 36, 37, it was a 115C model, and they had a 120 8-cylinder. Those cars you see every once in a while, you see one with it's got that mile-long nose out there. They have a place to put that 8-cylinder engine. And 38 and 39, they dropped the designation 11C, and they were pushing the improved engine, so they called it the Packard 6 for the 6-cylinder engine. In 1940 and 41, they came out with it was along with the 6, they came out with this. This is what they call the 1800 model, or the 110 6-cylinder. And this car was built to last and built to be worked on. Got more steel in this frame in this car than you got in a Ford F-350 pickup, a Dodge, or Ram, or any of them. It's got a hell of a frame under it. It uses a damper shock system that you refill in service, which it was never done. So what we did, we come in and we changed the starter solenoid off the starter to the firewall. We had a 12-volt coil laying around, so we stuck it on with the 12-volt solenoid. I don't want to keep using it. It's too hard to blast that starter with 12 volts. They say you can go back to a 6-volt to give the starter an extra cranking oomph, but it won't hurt anything in the system. So a lot of people are running 8s or just plain 6-volt batteries. If it's tuned up and runs, it'll fire right up and run. Now, got a generator, positive ground. On this one, they had the wiring wrong orientation on the cap. They took the 8-cylinder wire diagram, knocked off the last 2, and that's how they wired it to this distributor cap, starting in the wrong position, going clockwise. This engine distributor turns counterclockwise. So I got everything done. I thought, man, that something don't seem right. So I popped the cap and hit the button over here, and it was turning counterclockwise. So I had to reschedule everything around. I went here the other day. Lucky, it should have been on the tape, but it wasn't. I went to get a whole distributor to turn it a little bit. Forgot I didn't put the boots down. Yeah, that hurt. It lit me right up. You see, we got the old, look at that. That's the wiring harness. Today, the cars are about that big around. Cloth wrapped wire. You got a yellow, white, black, and tan. And they use the same color over and over. It comes up through the firewall. It comes up to the headlight switch. High beams, low beam, and all that, okay? Here's the positive hookup. These are negatives because it's a positive ground. Someone's been in here playing. What we're going to do is we're going to figure all this wiring out where it goes into the firewall. I'm going to cut it, clean it back, put tags on it, A, B, C, D on both of them to match, and then cut them in the middle. I'm going to trace this wire down. It goes in the body, which I believe goes to the tail lights and whatever else. And do the same thing there and take this whole harness out. And then when the time comes, I open up the dashboard. I got to open up the dashboard to repair this upper door hinge. There's no other way of doing it. Plus, I want to get them out. I want to clean them, check it out. I'm adding secondary newer gauges to it, but I'm keeping the original ones for the appearance. I'll show you that it's kind of the beginning of the Art Deco automotive designs. All the fins, all the chrome, all the trim. You're starting to see right here. Got matching going down the dashboard, around a clock on the glove box door, down and around this speedometer cluster instrument group, and then out to the side out here. So I want to get all that sanded and painted. Heaters in there. But when I'm doing a car like this, I like to get one that's got everything on it I can get. It hasn't been picked. Now, one thing you noticed right here, you see this little line right here? These cars came with an option for an oil filter that was right here. A canister. You took the top off, you pulled the element out of it, and you drained the car. Then you put a new one in there, you put the lid on it, put the nut back on it, it's ready to go. But if you didn't do the option for the oil filter, they came from the factory with this little bypass line. Oil pump directly to the overhead. Okay? From the overhead, it goes through the engine to here. From here, it goes down. This returns it to the oil pan, so it can be picked up and cycled again. Water pump. I think it's about ready to take off and fly. I'm being careful with it. Everything's good. I mean, I'm impressed with it. To this point. We did some front end changes. We'll go over that. I'll show you what the fault was and what I did to make what I wanted out of it. Most old cars have the master cylinder under the floorboard in it. You lift the panel up to get to it to bleed it. Packard put theirs right up here. Nice design, easy to service and get to. I don't have room for a power brake booster, but I can put a dual master cylinder in here, and I've got one. It's one of the parts $2,600 for the part value off that S10, all that stuff. I'm going to reline the brakes anyway, separating the front and the rear for the two split master cylinder here. These wires are a mile long. They're good, they work. I got another set laying in there somewhere in a box that came off the S10. Sooner or later I'll get a set or make a set to fit this. We don't need 5 miles of wires, but that's a long way off. We had to clean the points. They started firing as soon as I got everything cleaned up. And in one of our videos, it shows me discussing how this buddy of mine rebuilt the starter I got the car from. So I installed the starter, made a new battery cable, crimped the fittings, blah, blah, blah. Put the starter solenoid on the firewall instead of laying it on top of the starter. I figured it'd probably last longer if it wasn't enjoying all that engine heat constantly. And I stuck the coil up here instead of hanging. It was hanging off of here with tape. Just neaten it up so I could get in here and see it and work on all of it. And here's the voltage regulator, and you know it fired up and runs good. Here's the problem. You start it up right now, it will smoke and carry on. It'll come up to 40 pounds of oil pressure at fast idle. but just a little faster than normal. I'm not talking about cranking it way up, because the carburetor's not in the best shape, so I had to bring it up a little bit. Wasn't a single thing wrong with it. Then the temperature gauge is one someone added in. It's kind of broken, the face of it and everything, but the arm's still on it and it's still hooked to the engine. I picked it up and looked at it. She's running it after I filled it up with water to kind of cushion that water pump a little bit. 160 degrees, running 40 pounds of oil pressure. That's what it did when it was new 85 years ago. Imagine that. And the only thing I've done to it, other than I shot a squirt of JB down each of the holes, and after I got the starter back and got it where I could turn it, I spun it a few times, just kind of oil the bores a little bit and get the rings kind of moving a little, so it spin over good. Sprayed a little carburetor cleaner down in it so it kind of clean it up. Put the plugs in it. And when it decided to fire, it fired right now and sat there and idled. Now, I found this by habit. If I shut the car off after it warms up and is smoking, and wait 15 minutes when the engine's hot, and turn it back on, it won't smoke. It's the rings, not the valve seals, because they would be smoking all the time. Every time the car is running, it would be smoking. The only thing I can think of is I got a couple rings kind of sticking a little bit. Okay, and after I shut it off and all that engine heat's on them, they expand out, because I also noticed that it picks up, has a little bit more power on the second start. So we're going to try the old fluid, put some juice down in the holes, and turn it over, put a little juice down the holes, turn it over for about a week. I'll turn it over by hand. No, I can't. I'll have to bump the starter. Just turn it a little bit. And get something to kind of dissolve up that carbon, because this carbon, when the car's been sitting, can cause problems when you go to restart them, just for this nature. You see people working all the time. And this one's set since 87. Was that 45 years? Now here comes part two. Oil pan. I noticed all of a sudden the oil was perfect, but it was creamy on the stick. There's regular motor oil. After my first run. So I let it run and get it up to operating temperature, whatever. And I put a pan under, reached under there. The bolt was only finger tight, and I thought, what the hell? So I popped it, pulled the plug out, and cold water hit my hands, like a double shot glass worth. I thought, condensation. It's been sitting in a barn, hot and cold, condensing in there all these years. And then it quit running, and I was looking, and there was something oozing down out of the drain plug. It was just coming down slow, like in a video. It's going to get there, and it stretched all the way down about that long. It was about that big around, just a slimy bunch of grease and stuff. And then all of a sudden, it just down in the oil pan. A little bit of oil, a little bit more oil, and clumps of small ones, big ones, in betweens, large ones was coming out of that engine. Because see, it's never had a filter on it, and it's non-detergent oil, so all that sludge is in there somewhere. I can only imagine what that oil pan would look like. So when I got it up yesterday, I figured, wait a minute. We drained it, went over, I had some oil over there that I put in my Equinox, and after about 1,500 miles, it was saying it had to be changed. So the oil must not have been any good I bought. So we changed it out, and I did the same. I bought my grandson the same oil for helping me do a project, so I had to buy him oil again. He changed them both, the Equinox and his Escape, and I used that oil in here. And that's the oil you just looked at. There's no water in it or anything. It's clean. The radiator's full. There's going to be water in it. It'd have water in it now. So we got it up to 160 degrees and kept it there for 15 minutes. And that mixed everything up. Now, the next time we're going to do it, we're going to fire it up and get it up hot to 160 degrees, shut everything down, and I'm going to come out here and get the oil pan back out, because I got another jug of that oil, and see how much more crud that when it gets hot really gets circulating with that detergent oil, and the crankcase slopping around in there, how much more stuff we can flush out of there. And then I'll fill it back up with the other jug I got over there and just use that for my winter oil for now. I want to antifreeze up this radiator on my next run, due to the fact that in case I don't work on it, the temperature has a habit of dropping overnight here in Ohio. I don't want to freeze and bust anything, so we're going to put it full of antifreeze on our next run and pump it through all the galleys in the engine. So basically this is what we're doing. Now I'm going to move around to the front of the vehicle. Just because I can. I have to wait for my grandson to come up. He's got a salt table over here. My son's father-in-law, his wife passed. He's moving from a big, huge home they built together. I mean, this thing was, it was breathtaking gorgeous. The home was absolutely massive. So he downsized to a condo, so he don't have to mow grass. He doesn't have to do anything. It's a nice big condo with a garage for all his toys. And he's got his wife's Lexus. He's got his two-seater, I think it's a Mercedes. He's got a pickup truck. And so he's got his toys, and he likes to play golf. He works up at the golf course in that area anyway, and he exchanges his work for tea money so he can have tea time. Smart man. I'm gonna have to dig that out. Okay. I'm gonna put this right here. I can still see it. One second. I got stuff going on. So, okay. Now, the free height on this vehicle, top to bottom, is 10 inches for ride height. Somebody in their infinite wisdom decided to change the springs, so they took the springs out, because this was a parts car for another build. I say that because the doors are gone, a few pieces were gone, other pieces have been brought in and put on it, and the VIN plate has been taken off of the firewall. So they used the title and VIN on this one on another car. And then with the extra parts they could find and locate, they started putting this back together. I got a noise with the clutch pressure plate. Another story for another day when I get down there and see what's going on, because I'm going to open that up. I'm going to pull all that stuff out, check the transmission out. I want to get the flywheel refaced and bolted back on, and I got to make up my mind about the clutch disc and a pressure plate. Throughout, everything looks good. I may put one in it just because it's a pain in the butt to put one in this car. So I got everything laying on the floor. And naturally, since it's a Packard, instead of a $38 throwout bearing, they want, let me see if I can do this without tipping the camera over. There. They want like $68 to $75. Whatever. Now we pulled the bushings, we had to cut the bolts. That's the reason why the front end's kind of a little bit wonky. It's not going to start lining up until I get this back over in place. And this is turned in the proper position here, which will bring this tire around and everything will be hunky-dory. I'm going to get wheel alignment bars. I got to use them on Brittany because I know she's off a little bit because I changed the outer tie rod ends. From the head to shorties, I put the longer ones on it, the new ones. So I'll put them on there, run 2 tape measures, and then you just dial them in till you get it. And then I'll slap them on here when the time comes. This is in mock-up. I'm going to make these bushings myself right in there on the bench while I'm working on the dashboard for Brittany. You could not take this pencil and stick between the coils of those springs. Now I can shove my fingers between them. We're going to make a top hat. This one's got to get cut out. This one kind of rusted out, and I'll trim it up. I'm going to take a piece of 3-inch round tube and a piece of plate I got laying in there, and I cut these circles out. I'm going to weld it to it like a top hat, turn them upside down, and drop them down in the springs. So no matter where the spring bounces around, it'll line it right back up with the body. Okay. And the bottoms, I'm just going to put a bolt and strap on it so it can't jump out because it sits on a tray. And Packard springs were softer than these, and they had a rubber cone inside. So it start to give that, it would start hitting that cone, it would slow it down and then bring it back off slowly. So you were getting that Packard ride, that comfortable ride. Well, all that stuff's been taken off the car and these springs were put on. So somebody was trying to resurrect this build. Probably got bored with it or couldn't find what they needed. And it ended up in a barn. It was, last time it was driven was 87. It probably ended up in a barn sometime in the 90s. So it's set for 35 or 42 years. The second time. So here's your all this stuff. I haven't taken it off yet because I need to lay it down and get a wiring diagram, and it kind of makes sense out of these wires. So this is basically what we did. We dropped this down at 10 inches off the ground. Or 12 inches. This is 12 inches off the ground. This bar is coming out. I got some stuff to go in there, so this got to come out for now. Push comes to shove, I can add my shocks right here and put a bracket up here just like they did some of the Model Ts, and just weld it in, put the shock in it, put a bolt on the bottom, piece on the top to cushion that down a little bit. Now, right now it's sitting on a 3-inch rubber block, barely. And the top pads were totally crushed flat. So technically, if I put a 3-inch pad here and the 1-inch pad down here, the car would actually articulate and work correctly, but it's going to bring it down a little bit too low. So I got to figure how low I want to go, because what's going to happen later on when I get more money, I get into the build farther and start making improvements on it up the road, I will most likely take the springs out, put a coil over in here, drill and put a bracket on here to attach the top of the coilovers to, and then I can dial the front end in exactly where I want it for ride stability and everything. Right now I just want stability and strength, and this will work. I can't see spending $100 for a pair of springs or $189 for a pair of these original Packard springs, knowing that I'm going to replace them up the road. I just want to get it up, running and driving, and able to take it to car shows or go out with the wife and have lunch or just cruise around a little bit. I'm not building a, this is an old school jalopy. It's not a high powered rat rod or a hot rod or a resto mod or anything. I just took the old car and made the most I can make out of it and have some fun doing it. Now we're going to move around to part 2, or 3 I should say, of the Packard. See how well that looks? That's about the kind of the rake I want. It's got 2 2x4s underneath the back tires right now to give it the rake I want. By the time I move that up, I'll have to take one of them out, or the back will be too high. Glass bowl on the bottom of the fuel pump. Carburetor works with a little, I gotta prime it a little bit because I can't use the choke, it's froze up the cable. Put an electric fuel pump on to bring some pressure to it. Set a gas can down here. Then with a little bit of jiggling and wiggling, it fires off and runs. Now, see that vent? There's a handle on the dash. It opens and closes. These aren't going to work being down on the body like this. So what I got to do is figure out where to set one of these with smaller windshield wipers on it so I can move it down and get the movement on it that I want, so it won't conflict with the dash. Whoppity whoppity whop whop. I'm not sure what length this is, because you gotta remember I got a solid metal dash in there and I gotta be down below it. That's the reason why these drop down for the motor. So I got a bunch of research to do there. See, this is the beginning of the Art Deco little strips. Oops, I did that. Went to pop that window frame out and forgot the window frame, the window, and the trim and the vent window all was one piece. So when I went to wiggle it, my bad. Let me work my fat back side in here. Dang legs on this thing. See, it's got the trim. You got to have an ashtray. You can buy a little square LED read out GPS unit for speedometer. I'm thinking about getting one and maybe take this out, incorporate it right in here so it sits